Since the past 4 days, remember that we've been bringing you expert voices from not just Israel or Palestine, but from across the world, because this looks like it's definitely becoming much more than Israel, Hamas or Israel, Palestine. Joining me now is Joe Truzman. He's a Middle East expert. He's joining me from Tel Aviv in Israel, and from where specifically, remember, in the southern part of Israel, we see the skyline that's lit with the rocket fire, that Israel is now indulging in counter-air strikes, and so is Gaza, from where missiles and rockets are being launched. Joe, welcome to this telecast on India Today. When we look at these visuals, there's also a reference that's coming in. Israel has said if Hezbollah participates from Lebanon border or even from that of Damascus, that Israel may target Lebanon or parts of Syria, of Damascus as well, and it's going to ensure that this will escalate. And it does look like the manner in which it is happening, it could become way more than just an Israel-Gaza issue, could turn into a regional conflict. What are you picking up upon this escalation right now?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. There are a few problems here. The fear is that there's a multi-front conflict,
yes,
not only with Gaza, but of course with Lebanon and, as you mentioned, Syria. And speaking of Syria, especially specifically the Bashar al-Assad regime, are a massive supporter of Hezbollah, and they have facilitated the transfer of weapons from Iran to Lebanon. So this is why Israel has been threatening Syria, specifically the Assad regime, if Hezbollah joins in the conflict. But it's definitely a concerning situation. We've already seen in the past 24 hours at least a flare-up on the Lebanese border, where Hezbollah and Palestinian armed groups that operate in southern Lebanon have attacked Israeli soldiers. So it's very concerning. This war that's happening seems to be getting worse by the day, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Lebanon fully involved, including Syria, as well as, of course, Gaza.
Joe, what is the situation presently, specifically in southern Israel? We saw the visuals of Leo Raz as well, who's been a further star. He shared some visuals. You can see the skyline is lit, but there is also Israeli airstrikes in Gaza Strip right now. They say they're attacking terror hideouts. The visuals from there also are very scary. Right now, what is the situation like in Israel, and specifically of the hostage situation? Because Hamas has said, you attack us and we will start doing live televised executions of the hostages.
Correct, and that's always it's a scary thought, and it's a warning that should definitely the Israelis should listen to it. But I think as well, it's very important to note that Hamas is very good at psychological warfare, okay? So when I believe they are feeling pressure from the Israelis. So they start making these threats. You have to understand as well that these hostages are very, very important to them, because their goal is to swap these hostages for Palestinian prisoners or Palestinian terrorists in Israeli jails. So executing them is not going to help their cause in the end, okay? So when I heard that threat, to me, I think it was more
of a threat.
Yeah, it is a threat, but at the same time, it's almost a self-defeating threat, because they need these hostages, okay? But I think it's important to note that the Israeli Air Force is hitting Gaza hard, hitting these terrorist groups, specifically Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and other armed groups that have been that joined in or coordinated with Hamas when they attacked southern Israel. So I think that's important to know.
Joe, with the visuals that have been coming in the past 3 days, the world is witnessing it, and it's shocked by the manner in which the kidnappings, the parading, even targeting children has taken place. And many countries have come out in statements supporting and in solidarity with Israel. But let's also remember that there were celebrations in parts of the world for the Hamas attacks, and also in many ways the support that stands for Palestine. How do you think this is going to pan out in the next few days? It does look like that the situation will escalate, and perhaps in a darker way.
Absolutely. I believe as long as this war drags on, you're going to see these types of demonstrations supporting Hamas, supporting Palestine, other Palestinian terrorist groups from different parts of the world. It's an unfortunate sign. But it's happening. So the longer this war drags out, the more you're going to see it. At first, the first few days now, since this is the initial stage of this conflict, it's a bit shocking to see it, to see people supporting the mass murder of the civilians, the rape of civilians, the abduction of children and women and old and the elderly. However, this is the reality that we live in. So I believe we're going to
Joe,
continue to see it.
my final question would be, because, the Jewish community has seen the Holocaust, and now this, even after 1973, 50 years later, this a surprise attack that has come on its people. But it is an ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine. It has been going on for years. Palestine, of course, has its own view as well on this. But currently on the hostage crisis, do you think, according to your information, any sort of a deliberation discussion that has started? There were speculation that Qatar has got involved. There is USA also to try and act as mediators to get the hostages out. Any start on that? Or you just don't know about the situation or the condition of the hostages right now?
From what I understand, there are some discussions. There's an attempt to resolve this politically, and a prisoner swap, if you say. This has happened before with Israel and Hamas, prisoner swaps. So I think this is an attempt by Qatar, Israel, and other countries, and the United States, excuse me, and other countries to resolve a hostage swap peacefully. However, I don't think it will stop a war. We have to understand that Israel has suffered the greatest loss of life I believe it ever has since it was founded. So I don't think anything is going to stop the Israelis from exacting or responding to Hamas and degrading and possibly destroying the group in Gaza.